Okay, we're going to call to order this meeting of the TLDA, Tennessee Local Development Authority Audit Committee here on June 23, 2025. And let's see, the first thing we want to do is to approve the minutes from
Move to approve.
July 22, 2024. We have a motion. Is there, we got a second? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted. So we have all our members physically present, right? So we don't have to call the roll.
We
right?
do. I thought Mayor Bradshaw was going to be on here, but is he dropped off? Okay, so we don't need to call the
All
roll.
right, so I think we're all here. Okay. good deal.
I do want to make one note, though, in the minutes. In the middle, it talks about approval of the prior minutes, and the date is incorrect there. It says June 15, 2022, and it should say May 31st, 2023. And on the copy I'm going to have you sign, Treasurer Lillard, it does have the correct date.
All right, without objection, then we'll consider that correction made, okay? All right, item number 3 is review of the audit reports issued by the Comptroller's Office. And the first item is discuss the TLDA audit report.
If it is okay with you, sir, we'll take both reports. The Comptroller's Office is not here, so they asked me to step in.
So you're pinch hitting for everybody.
I am.
Okay.
Items 3A and 3B are a review of the audit reports issued by the Comptroller's Office, and the meeting materials cover the audit reports from the Comptroller's Office for FY24 and FY23 of the TLDA and the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. The audit reports from the Comptroller's Office contained unmodified opinions on the fairness of the presentation of the financial statements for both entities. The reports also describe the scope of the testing the auditors conducted on the internal controls over financial reporting and compliance and results of that testing, and not to provide an opinion on the internal controls over financial reporting or on compliance. The audit reports contain no findings, and the prior audit reports contain no findings as well.
Okay, I noted that the report said there were no findings, which is a good thing. And any questions about the reports, Mr. Pierce? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the next item, which is item number 4, review of financial statements, including significant accounting and reporting standards. Mr. Pierce, you want to cover this?
This will be covered by Alicia.
Okay, all right.
I'm Alicia West with the Comptroller's Division of State Government Finance. A summary report of fiscal year 2024 financial information for the TLDA state loan programs and TLDA state revolving fund loan programs is included in the meeting packet. There were no significant changes to accounting and reporting standards. I do want to note that the TLDA had $560,000 in bonds outstanding at June 30th, 2024. Additional bonds were redeemed in this year in March, bringing the outstanding balance to $315,000. These bonds will mature in 2029. If you have any additional questions regarding the TLDA's financial statements, you may contact the Comptroller's Division of State Government Finance, and we'll be happy to answer those questions.
Okay, any questions in regard to that report? All right, seeing none, that concludes item number 4. Item number 5 is the SRF summary of the PERS reports from EPA. Who's going to cover this item?
Yes, I thought that someone from the TDEC would be here today, but I will.
Ms. Jones is right there.
Sorry.
There you go. All right,
Sorry.
Ms. Jones, come on down.
I didn't see. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Vina.
No worries, no worries.
Okay.
All right, good afternoon, committee. I will just quickly review the recommendations based on the state fiscal year 2023, federal fiscal year 2024 program evaluation from the EPA. They have a series.
They noted in these items there weren't any findings, but you're going to cover the recommendations.
Yes, sir. No findings or required actions are in this program evaluation. However, there are a series of recommendations. So the recommendations really for clean water are reflected in drinking water also. They're identical. EPA recommends that the SRF evaluate ways to reduce our cash to average annual disbursement ratio below 2 years. We have undertaken and We accepted that recommendation and reevaluated how we establish readiness to proceed, rankability, how a project gets on our PRL, this should all help ensure that the projects proceed through the loan process that are shovel-ready and can move along faster, I guess. EPA recommended higher salary grades for our staffing. We appreciated that recommendation. Right. We appreciated that recommendation, and we look to hire the most qualified staff that we can. I will say that since taking over the program, I have been able to grow the staff and hopefully really improve the staff culture in SRF. We're fully staffed now, with one more accountant 3 coming on next week. So we went from about 5 staff when I took on the program to about 23. So that's a good improvement. They asked us to document the way we plan to move money into loans through the intended use plans. This is kind of a vague recommendation. I took that as how describing how we're going to move loans more quickly in the intended use plan. We've been migrating to the grant management system, Smart Simple. I think in the next month, we'll be able to release loans in that system fully through the loan process. We've been building it over the past 18 months. That system is not ideal for loans, but I'm also concurrently releasing an RFP for a loan-derived database system to help manage the SRF program in a more efficient way. We also have overhauled the process, describing phases for applicants and making it more transparent for the customer and for staff to understand all of the facets of the SRF program and how they move through each phase and the timelines in which an entity should move through the phase before getting a loan document. EPA stood up a new database, and then they said we should put information in that database consistently. We have put information in that database consistency. We took the recommendation, said thank you very much. We do. We put it in as federally required quarterly. They requested that we do it monthly. We're not federally mandated to do it monthly. I appreciate the suggestion, and when time permits, we will do it monthly, but we're federally mandated to do it quarterly. Consider having an applicant's engineer provide a certification on the useful life of the infrastructure that will be financed. We do look at useful life. We look at comptroller recommendations as well as engineering standards. We said we would evaluate incorporating that into the process during our business process improvement, which is ongoing. They asked us to establish a checklist for Green Project Reserve. Again, we said, thank you for the recommendation. We will look at incorporating that. We do have a checklist, but they didn't particularly like our checklist. They recommend that we include a BABA waiver for all project files for projects eligible for the design waiver. BABA is a newer federal requirement, and training for states on implementation has been confusing and inconsistent by the EPA. We have requested EPA provide TDEC SRF staff BABA-specific training to ensure our customers and our SRF loan files meet the minimum federal requirements. We've asked EPA headquarters to come to Tennessee and give us specific training if they don't, if they think we need improvement on how we need to do things. EPA recommended that we comply with the prohibition on telecommunication and video surveillance. That's like a way or whatever. I said our contracts do. And we are actually having our Office of General Counsel review all of our contracts to make sure we're meeting the minimum federal requirements, including compliance with recent executive orders. So all of our contracts are up to date. EPA recommended that EPA recommends that SRF state the assistance recipient revenue repayment source in the financial analysis approval letter. We said we would consider that. We do it in the loan document, so think that's a good suggestion. EPA recommended updating the standard signage template for both non-BIL base equivalency and standard projects. We have made the update, but again, EPA has changed the signage requirements so many times. We said we update it every time you ask us. EPA recommended that we update our SOPs, internal guidance, et cetera, including American Iron and Steel certification letters. And we are incorporating that into our process during the business process improvement work, again, which is ongoing. Continue to ensure compliance with federal flood risk management standard. We continue to do that, and thank you for the recommendation. EPA recommended that we demonstrate which agencies are being consulted with for each environmental cross-cutting authority. We do that. Again, they did not acknowledge that in our checklist process, but we said we would incorporate the recommendations to make it even more accessible for EPA when they review. And those were the recommendations given for clean water. The 2022 follow-up recommendations are very similar to the SFY 2023. And then there are no different independent recommendations from EP. So that concludes clean water.
And as you said, they're largely the same.
Right. So for drinking water, there were no findings and there were no required actions. The recommendations EPA gave us largely reflect the recommendations we received for clean water.
I've read all of them, and I wonder whether you may need to have a relationship counselor present the next time you meet with the EPA people, to try to make sure you have a fuller understanding of each other's point of view,
Yes.
Because there are some points where there are two ships passing in the night going on there,
Yes.
All right, any questions of Ms. Jones about those reports? All right, thank you for your help, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, next item is item 6, the risk assessments memo. Staff gonna cover that, or,
I think that's both from state government finance as well as TDEC, correct? Okay.
yep.
I can speak to the state government finance risk assessment memo. So we do provide a risk assessment each year for our office. It is a lot lengthier than it used to be. We continue to add more and more risks to it each year. We did do and conduct all of the testing with regards to our risk assessment, and everything is running properly and all of the controls are in place that need to be in place. I will note that this year, as we work on our risk assessment, we'll be adding some risks in there with regards to AI as well.
I would say staff is doing a great job because the combined reports are now up to 28 pages, so it's pretty good.
It's high quality. It's not just quantity, it's quality.
But there's a lot there, to chew on. So any questions in regard to the risk assessments memo? All right, very good. Thank you for that. On item number 7 is discuss management's responsibility to prevent, detect, and report fraud, waste, and abuse.
So I will say that, not only does the TLDA, but all of our boards that we serve are committed to a high standard of ethics, conduct, and fiduciary responsibility. And it is the responsibility of the authority, its management and staff to help prevent, detect, and report fraud, waste, and abuse. We do have a process that's been established to confidentially report suspected illegal, improper, wasteful, or fraudulent activities for the authority. So suspected illegal, improper, wasteful, or fraudulent activities may be reported in any of the following ways: to the Office of Internal Audit within the Department of Finance Administration, as well as to the Comptroller of the Treasury using their hotline, and that hotline is indicated on our website on many pages.
Okay, and we're going ahead and cover item number 8 here, which is discuss the comptroller's hotline. I assume, Sandy, since the last meeting of this committee, we haven't had any reports to the hotline, to the comptroller's hotline regarding the TLDA.
We do get phone calls, but it's what we end up doing is referring them to investigations in the comptroller's office.
Okay, and those have all been reviewed and resolved? Is that the status of that?
To my understanding, yes.
All right, any questions in regard to items 7 or 8 on the agenda? All right, item number 9 on the agenda is the Audit Committee Responsibilities Calendar. Who wants to talk about that?
Yes, the purpose of the audit responsibilities calendar to provide a summary of the annual responsibilities as outlined in the audit committee charter, along with the dates and frequency each responsibility has been conducted by the audit committee or on their behalf. So they are aware of these responsibilities, including how and when they were met over the past year. Any questions?
Okay, I'll commend that to your reading on page 128 here. Okay, so seeing no questions, all right. And now we come to item number 10, which is opportunity for public comment. Any member of the public have a comment for the TLDA Audit Committee? Seeing none, let the record reflect that there are none. Number 11 is the next item, other business. Any other business to come before the Audit Committee? All right, seeing none. Number 12, adjournment is next. I move we adjourn. Is there a second? Second. We have a second. All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the secretary will take the role of the committee for purposes of the minutes. Thank you very much for your service to the TLDA and the state of Tennessee. We are adjourned.